Secrets Behind the Secrets by Lex. Warning, may contain content not suitable for children. Language, blood, violence, and some drug references. Prologue. My name is Jen Woods. I'm a forensics officer for the CPD, Chicago Police Department. These next few cases are some of my very own successes, catching perps and bringing them to justice. Now, since I am technically a police officer, I talk like one. So if you see any bolded words you don't know, feel free to look them up in the glossary at the end of each case. You are now going to endure cases of murder, deception, kidnapping, dead magicians, literal gold diggers, freaking awesome hostage situations in airports, and more. So be prepared for anything. Welcome back to the A for Effort series, Secrets Behind the Secrets. I'm Lex Fusco, and joining me as always is my wonderful husband and writer in crime, Connor McKiven-Vaughn.
Correct.
And today we are tackling part 2 of the series finale of this series, I guess. It's the last episode, the last case of Secrets Behind the Secrets, Case 7, MOUSETRAP.
From what I've heard, that's not entirely true. Apparently you wrote a second book. We just can't find it.
You're right. There was a sequel to this. And to be entirely honest, I think I remember what the case was for the first one, and it had to do with cheerleaders and someone being set on fire. But we're not surprised to learn that children were involved. So there is that.
But it's gone.
But it's gone, and to never see the light of day ever again. But you know what? We had this, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like anything was gonna change these characters.
None of it was gonna get better.
Nothing was gonna, like, they weren't gonna learn anything. They weren't gonna change as people. They weren't gonna be like, you know what? I respect you a little bit more or less than before because I don't think we know what that word means.
They actually all get out of hell and finally move on.
Maybe.
But yeah, so let's do it. Previously on Secrets Behind the Secrets.
Do you want me to recap what I remember?
I would love for you to recap what you remember because you were inebriated and you're not inebriated for this one. But
I'm not. So as far as I can tell, someone from Jen's past who we had no connection to,
nor context for, showed up, kidnapped Nick in the middle of a crime scene that he caused. Nick knew who this man was immediately. Jen took forever because apparently her stalkers are a dime a dozen. I mean, her daddy is a billionaire.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't had an episode where she got kidnapped for his money before this.
I think he only shows up that one time.
That's it?
That's it.
Just as a plot point for her to get a second car so that there's no real consequences to anything?
Yep. You don't have to have consequences when you have a billionaire in your life.
It's true. Maybe that's how she keeps getting away with all this incorrect police.
Actually, do you think it's not actually Chicago? She's actually in like a simulation room.
Oh, I was thinking that he built her a city and said, this is Chicago. And she has no idea that it's not Chicago because she's never actually been to Chicago.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, sure. And all these people are just actors.
I'm going to save so many people's lives.
And they're just like, they have to pay extra when the person is being attacked.
Gets assaulted by Jen.
Yeah, because everyone else is pulling their punches and Jen's actually hitting someone. And they're like, oh, God, is this really worth $50,000 a week? She wants to kill me. Yes. She legitimately wants to kill me.
But yeah, so Nick's been kidnapped by a man named Felix who is in love with Jen because of course he is, and Nick has been...
She's the ultimate woman.
I know, she's the best. And Nick and Jen found themselves trapped in a container slowly filling with water. So now we have to see if they get out and if they...
This container is just like a jigsaw style trap.
Here's my question for you. Do you want to know what it is? Because I know I explain it in this.
What is?
The container.
What do you mean?
Why it's like this. Because I do explain it in the book.
It's not because he is an engineer and created this?
Nope. This is the thing that I made that it exists.
Oh, this is what it's for?
No, so...
Okay, no, if it's explained, we'll get to it.
Okay, we'll get to it.
But the fact that I know that this isn't something that he built and that these exist elsewhere in the world, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's the room where you drown people.
It's the container you fill with water.
And it has stairs.
It has stairs. Yes. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. So we'll do a little. I'm gonna read the last little bliv.
Just do it. I don't know what bliv is.
Bliv. The water had already risen to my ankles. He leaned against me as we walked toward the stairs. This was going to be fun. I meant that facetiously, by the way.
You don't have to explain why you wrote things the way they are. I get it. Or is that the line?
That's the line.
Oh, Jen.
That's in there, in parentheses.
Jen, why don't you think anyone understands sarcasm?
Who is this for? Who is she talking to?
It's for her when she has dementia in 70 years.
Or in 5, thanks to all this trauma. Okay. At the lab rats waited for my call in the evidence analysis lab.
Because that's all they do. They have no lives outside of this.
Paige walked in. "Where's Jen?" he asked. She was supposed to go home and get something to change into, call and come back.
It's your job to know.
That was an hour ago, Claire said. Well, that Louis' warehouse is a crock. Their warehouses were moved a year ago. They used to be a small-time business, and their food used to be stored in containers, Paige said. But Felix has Nick at a warehouse, though, David argued. I don't know why they are so sure he's at a warehouse. Felix never even, said that they were in a warehouse. They were just like...
Did Nick say it once while they were on, in one of the videotapes?
Nope, because Nick doesn't know where he is.
Okay. Somehow Jen found him.
No, she didn't. Felix found her.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I love you. Let's go kill Nick together." And he was like,
I forgot
yes,
that's how that
into
happened.
that.
Okay.
Jen has done 0 police work this entire case.
I think
okay.
you mean book. Literally all she does is yell at other people to do their jobs, and they give her evidence.
Yeah.
And she shoots usually the wrong person.
"Guys, I got something," Ashlyn yelled from the hall. They all ran out. "I was looking over these crime scene photos and noticed that on each of these bodies, they have a paint smear on it. Jen swabbed it and I ran it through trace. It's a yellow paint only used to paint containers at piers," Ashlyn reported.
Why?
Why is that the only thing that's ever... Yeah.
Who invented a paint? No, listen. It's only for pier containers.
Only for pier containers.
If this container is going to be moved anywhere else that's not a pier, you have to use other paint.
It'll just fall right off.
Yeah. The air. The humidity.
I was looking over the... Okay, we did that. Think that's impressive? I have so many more tricks. I narrowed it down further.
Jesus Christ.
This specific paint contained copper shavings, and there's only 3 piers that have containers with that paint mixture because it makes the paint last longer. I'll just see which one of the piers harbored the Louis containers," Ashlyn continued, and typed in the name. Bink! I don't know where she typed the name into, but she did, and we have the answer.
It's off-brand Bing, which didn't exist at this point.
The Bing was the search result.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
Bing makes a Bing.
Bing makes a Bing. "That's the pier. This is why Felix picked this container to put Nick in." Oh, we're going to learn right now.
Okay.
Oh. Ash smiled. She clicked a few buttons and pulled up the blueprints of the container. I don't know. Are you ready for this? I don't think you are.
I mean, sure.
This container contains 6 large hoses that attach to holes on the sides of the container.
Is it for fish?
Yes.
Oh my God, is it for live fish? Is this how you think fish are transported?
No. A lever activates suction, and it takes in water from the river at the pier, Ash continued her explanation. She turned around in her chair to face her audience. Those hoses let in 50 gallons of water every 10 minutes.
That's really slow.
Yeah. This is probably the only time I could have probably used hyperbole, and it would have made more sense.
Yeah. That's not efficient.
But the reason why the container exists is efficient because you know why? Those hoses let in 50 gallons of water every 10 minutes. This was used to make catching fish a lot easier. All Felix would have to do is seal the container and let the lever go. They'd drown, she'd finished.
What? It's a fishing
Yeah, so basically they let in the water and then the water comes in and it fills with water and fish in the container. And then when they let the water out, the fish stay in the container. So they don't have to do any fishing.
So they just leave these in the bottom of the ocean?
No, they don't leave them in the bottom of the ocean.
They suck the fish up.
They suck the fish up from the ocean into these containers and fill up the containers with water and fish. And then they let the water back out. But the fish stay. And it makes it easier than fishing.
You invented this.
I did.
For this one. And you thought you needed to explain its existence.
Yes. I mean, I'm justified. You were asking many a question as to why this was the way that it was. And you know, Chicago is notorious for its fishing.
Yeah.
Notorious.
Because, ocean side.
It's from a river. They fish from a river. They just suck all the fish out of the river.
That's what people are buying.
Yep.
Fish, lake salmon.
Yep.
River salmon.
Oh my God. But if the Louis guys don't house that container anymore, who does? Mark asked. I have the answer to that, too. Carl O'Leary. He owns a small-time business that sells pool supplies. He bought the container. Mr. O'Leary
There's only one in existence?
Yeah.
Oh. Obviously it failed. Okay, I get it. They were like, this is going to revolutionize fishing, and then it didn't. And
then a guy bought it to be like, can I house my pool supplies in here? And they're like, I guess. We only spent $2.5 billion to create this container.
It's our one prototype. Nobody bought it. I guess. How much you can... $6? Sure. I'm going to go kill myself.
Mr. O'Leary was killed 3 days ago in his home, and his keys were stolen. Ashlyn smiled.
Why did you go after that case?
They did. They solved it last week before it happened. I'll get everyone down there, Paige said. We're coming too, Mark volunteered. No, Paige replied. Oh, come on, Paige. Rise up, man. I want to swoop in and save the day. Plus, I'm really bored.
Do you know how to use a gun, Mark?
Mark begs.
You're the video guy. Do you know how to use...
I'm impressed you remembered that Mark's the video guy.
I remember that because it's the only time we've ever met Mark.
Yeah, that's
it's also the only time we needed video. Even though I feel like everywhere should be like, do they have CCTV? Yes? Okay, cool. Our job is done.
And then Paige just says, fine. And everyone's going.
All right, none of you are field certified. None of you have a badge.
Let's go.
But here's a shotgun each. Ashlyn, because you're the youngest, you get the LMR.
Can I have a gun? Mark asked hopefully. No, everyone in the room said sternly.
What? Then he's just a body.
They're all going in solidarity. It's fine. Someone needs to stay here with Lex, Ashlyn said as they walked out of the room and ran into the hallway. I'll stay, Sarah offered. Me too, David chimed in. Okay, good luck, Mark said, and they rushed down the hall and they left.
I like how every time they're like, all right, good, let's go. And then they start moving as fast as possible, just in the same direction all at the same time.
Got places to be. At the warehouse, Nick and I struggled to reach to the top of the stairs. Come on, Nick, we're only a few feet away. Then you can get patched up, I said. It was taking us so long because Nick's lack of movement and the fact that the water was already up to my waist.
Thanks for explaining it.
Yeah.
Because, I had forgotten that Nick can't move because he got shot twice.
Yeah. And oh, God, my God. He should be dead. He should be dead. He just should be dead.
Yeah. But he's not going to die.
He's not going to die. Because there's a sequel.
Well, you never said that Nick was in it.
Listen, leave me here. I die, you live, Nick begged.
How about the opposite? And then she just throws him and goes underwater.
Drowns herself. Just leaves him there to be with her corpse. That's just the blood loss talking. I know for a fact that Nick Cragen does not give up without a fight, I opposed.
What do you think I've been doing? I've been fighting for a long time. This is me.
I've been shot twice.
This is me.
I've escaped twice.
This is me having no more fight left. Fuck you for thinking that this is me just giving up. You know how much I've already done without you?
He pushed off of me and splashed into the water. I fished him up and out. Come on, Nick. You really think I could leave you here? Who would be my partner? Who would take care of Lex? No, correction. Who would take care of Lex and not have the crap intimidated out of them? Who would help me catch homicidal maniacs on a daily basis? Face it, Nick.
Any of the other people who we work with.
It's inevitable. You're really quite needed in the world, I objected. Too many questions, Jen. Sort of bleeding to death here, he joked in reply. What did you mean by hired help? I asked. Hopefully keeping Nick talking would let me know if he died or just passed out. What, Captain Random? He questioned in reply. When Felix and I came in, you said your hired help sucks. What did you mean? I inquired. Oh, I got out at some point. I made it all the way to the roof when this chick in all black knocked me back down and stabbed me with something. It gets sort of blurry after that, Nick informed. I've been stabbed a whole bunch.
I thought she was just stabbed with like a needle.
She stabbed him with a hat pin.
Oh. And that knocked him out?
Well, I think he passed out. I don't think she explicitly knocked him out.
Stab, and he just collapses. Oh shit, what? This wasn't poisoned. What happened?
I've been shot twice. Oh, I'm so sorry. I could have just pushed you.
That's not fair. Felix said no guns.
I just got that stupid hat pin. Oh, by chance did she have blonde hair? I asked. All black, Jen. Plus, I was barely conscious anyway when she was there.
Who gives a shit?
'Cause Candy from earlier, the waitress.
Oh.
She could have been bright neon green and I wouldn't have been able to pay any attention. Sorry, but Nick didn't finish. Hey, stay with me here, I said, and Nick groggily opened his eyes.
Are they moving at this point, or are they just standing in the water?
No, they're moving. They're trying to get to the stairs.
How big is this container?
The stairs.
They've been having such a long conversation.
There's water up to her waist, and Nick's been shot twice, and...
He's in the water up to his waist. Just tuck your knees in. You'll float.
No, he can't. He's been stabbed twice in the leg.
Tuck your knees. Just go limp. You'll float.
So then the stairs.
Wait for the water to rise.
I know.
None of this makes sense.
It's fine. I'm up,
They have to get to the top anyway. Just wait for the water to rise and then open.
They're not gonna. Yeah, that's the point. Like, if there was an egress quite literally at the top of this, yes, I understand the urgency to keep moving. But guys, literally, just wait. I'm up, he murmured. I looked to the side. I noticed one of the containers had a brand name on it. Little Angel Water Wings. Hey, wait here a sec, I told Nick. I helped him float and then went over to the crate. I opened up the lid and took out a pair of water wings. It was a stretch, but anything could go right now. I went back over to Nick.
Children's water wings.
Children's water wings. We finally reached the stairs and we climbed them easier than I thought we would. When we reached the top, I sat Nick up against the wall. First off,
that's all it took was just a...
How did she open the crate?
It's just got a top, you know.
Gotcha.
It's on a hinge.
Uh-huh. When we reached the top, I sat Nick up against the wall. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. I thought I could shoot it open. As I felt around for my gun, I had realized it was either about 22 feet underwater. So now the container is not even 22 feet deep. That's like a minimum of what it could be.
I think this is a warehouse-sized thing. I think this is a warehouse-sized thing that you just invented. It's bigger than a building at this point.
I know.
22 feet.
22 feet
and
deep.
they are above the water.
Yes, they're on the stairs. They're safe now. Or in the hands of...
You don't know what a foot was?
It's, again, this goddamn hyperbole. Or in the hands of a crazy person. Plus, it wouldn't really make sense to fire a gun in a metal box. Nick and I have learned that the hard way. Long story.
Can't be longer than this one.
Nick shivered. I went back down next to him. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my trusty pocket knife. I opened up my...
the thing that's never been mentioned before.
She had it earlier when she opened up the box with the rat inside.
That's how she opened the crate.
Yeah, their trusty pocket knife. I opened up my bag and took out the pads.
She has her bag with her too?
Yeah, so it wouldn't get wet. I don't know how she kept it from not getting wet when they swam to the stairs past the 22 feet of water, but it's fine.
In the 22 feet of water.
I cut the fabric where Nick's second gunshot wound was and held the gauze pad up against the hole. I dipped a little of the antiseptic onto the pads. Nick yelped. It stung. I wrapped the ace bandage around his waist. Not professionally, but it was good enough for the time being. I blew up a water wing.
She had enough time to critique her own field medicine.
I blew up a water wing and fitted it around Nick's arm, slowing down and almost completely stopping the bleeding.
She used a pool floaty as a tourniquet?
Yep.
All right, that's interesting at least. It's got to be tight because it's for a child. I can kind of see where your brain went.
He smiled at me. Well, this is officially awkward, he stuttered. Don't talk. Paige will be here any second now, I promised. More like anticipated. I looked at him. You better not die on me, I ordered. I'll try my best, Nick answered. I reached in for my phone. Yes, I still had my phone. I love cell phones.
It's destroyed.
Also, she didn't have her phone. Felix took her phone.
This is her secret phone.
Gotcha.
It's also waterproof.
She actually just handed Felix a brick. Here you go. And he went, thanks, my love, and then wandered off to the car. I reached in for my phone. Yes, I still have my phone. I love cell phones. I dialed Paige on the wet keys. Paige, I exclaimed.
You admit that it's wet.
Yeah, when he picked up the phone. The container number is A88574, I said, and then my phone disconnected. Damn it, I mumbled. I take back what I said about cell phones.
Wait. If she's writing this but after the fact, did she change her mind?
Yes.
Writing this?
Yes. Jen, what do you think?
It's like the ramblings of a madman with one hand.
Jen, what do you think dying feels like? It's not very pleasant, Nick asked with his eyes closed. You're not dying, I argued.
No, he is.
Yes.
Like, you can't argue that fact.
I know. He slumped down and landed onto the ground. I lifted him up so his head rested in my lap again. I beg to differ. I thought it would be more birds tweeting, a bright light at the end of a tunnel, but it really just feels like you were crushed under a few tons of cinder blocks. Shot with an assault rifle about 40 times, and then thrown into the Arctic Ocean. Then fished yourself out and went 12 rounds with Rocky Balboa, he complained.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Why so many rounds? Why not just 2? 2 is a lot of rounds.
I'm talking like probably Rocky 4, Rocky Balboa. Same. Yep.
They only had...
He smiled.
I haven't seen Rocky 4 in a long time, but I'm pretty sure it's not 12 rounds.
No,
I think he kills Apollo in like 3.
I was implying that he was a bad boxer by that point. So the first 10 rounds were just basically a date.
Rocky 5 is when he's bad.
Okay. He smiled, knowing that I needed it. Oh, Nick, don't sugarcoat it. Tell me how you really feel, you bucket of sunshine, you, I joked.
What is this conversation?
Comfort.
Oh, God.
Ha, 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 Nick coughed in reply. He breathed heavily and closed his eyes once more.
He should be leaking blood out of his mouth, too.
No, it just went through most of his ribs.
And not anything else?
No.
Because there's nothing between ribs and...
Nope.
Air.
Skin. Hey, I'm not asleep, just resting my eyes, Nick opposed. Yeah, okay, and the world's made of cotton candy and smiley faces, I jeered. Well, then in that case, I'm out cold. He laughed. My head hurts, he followed. Astonishing, I joked. Nick opened his eyes and arched his neck and looked at his stomach. Blood had already saturated the bandage.
Flick it, that'll help.
Man, I am a bleeder, he leered, closing his eyes again.
What the?
I took off my long jacket.
This is making me uncomfortable.
Covered Nick up. Nick, you're a fighter, and a fighter goes on and, well, fights. It's going to be hard, tough, and painful, but in the end, it's going to be okay, I promised. In the middle of my big speech, Nick sat straight up and winced and flinched. I noticed 2 silver...
What? What?
I'm just ashamed.
Come on. What's going on? Nick is somehow alive and awake again.
So Jen took her jacket off and put it over Nick to give him warmth. Okay.
Sure, because he has no blood.
Yes, because he has no blood. In the middle of my big speech, Nick sat straight up and winced and flinched. I noticed 2 silver clips jutting from my jacket and now embedded in Nick's chest, causing him to mock a canary having a seizure.
That's a vivid painting you've made with those words. Makes no sense.
No sense whatsoever.
I think you thought you meant the bird drinky cup thing.
Nope.
Having a seizure, because that movement is kind of.
Nope.
Oh, you meant nothing.
I meant nothing.
You just threw some words.
I meant a thing having a seizure because Nick is technically having a seizure.
What?
I ripped the clips off, ignoring the shock it sent through my hand.
Why?
My beautiful leather jacket fluttered down and splashed silently in the icy water below. I looked down. Nick ceased shaking.
What happened?
Felix must have slipped the clips into my jacket when I left it alone with him. Such a gentleman. The clip's detonator trigger disengaged when I spread the jacket out, zapping the closest thing to it. Just my luck, huh? Wow, that was shocking, I joked, but no response from Nick.
It was a taser?
Mm-hmm.
He hit some kind of trigger-based taser device on her person?
Mm-hmm.
A weight-triggered taser device? How do you think electric currents work? How do you think tasers work?
None of it makes sense. Not a
Why
single...
is it happening?
I wish I had answers.
This is so long and nothing's being done. It's just, I think you thought this was dramatic. That more and more things were just happening, but nothing was also happening.
This is actually a huge problem that I have with a lot of scripts. And I think it's just because I'm a self-loather. There's stuff all the time when I read. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff happening right now with nothing happening at the same time.
Yeah. You could have cut this entire thing down to we made it to the top.
We did it and we waited for Paige and I comforted Nick as he died.
And then I used his body as a raft when Paige didn't arrive because he didn't know what a container was.
I know it wasn't that funny, but give me something here, I smiled, but Nick was silent. Nick? I asked and shook him a little, like last time, but this time no witty remark emerged from his lips. I felt his wrist and his pulse was so weak that I thought there wasn't any. A few seconds passed and then there really was nothing. Nick? Oh no, you're not going to do this to me. Come on, Nick, I pleaded. Way to make it about yourself, Jen. Way to make it about yourself.
Fuck you don't get to die until I tell you to.
You're not allowed to die. You're not a criminal and only criminals deserve to die. And children. In Chicago.
They don't deserve to die.
They just do.
They just do. And it's a reality that we have to accept.
I pressed down on his chest and then breathed into his mouth. I continued the attempt to revive him, hoping Nick was still in there somewhere.
You're not supposed to do that part of CPR.
This is 2007, where mouth to mouth was still very much in CPR. But don't worry, because he was only unconscious and with no heartbeat for 2 minutes.
You say that like it's a small amount of time to not have a heartbeat.
I know. So after about 2 minutes, Nick coughed, signifying he was still alive. So she was giving CPR for 2 minutes, too. All his ribs that were broken by the gunshot wound, by the way, now definitely all of them are broken.
Hey, Nick, I noticed that your chest is now concave.
How'd that happen?
Oh, yeah, it's because Jen saved my life by literally, pressing my ribs.
And he was beaten in the chest with the Louisville Slugger earlier, too.
His sternum is like a puzzle.
Yeah. Oh.
And that metaphor was better than anything I've heard in this entire book.
Like a canary having a seizure. What happened? He panted.
Just a bird that can't fly.
You passed out. You were such a jerk scaring me like that. What happened to just resting your eyes? I whispered. You fucking tased him.
I had so many volts running through my body. I have so little blood.
I let a few tears slip from my eyes and cradled my partner. Jen, I'm sorry, Nick mumbled. For what? What could you possibly be sorry for? Oh yeah, almost getting yourself killed. Big no-no, I asked in reply. Nick struggled to return an answer. I'm sorry for not being able to protect you this time, Nick squeaked.
I'm fine. Also, you sound like a mouse.
Squeak! I'm sorry I didn't get to protect you this time.
Yeah. Shh. The water's gonna come up, and you're just gonna stay down because I cannot listen to this anymore.
Nick,
He has to die.
Nick, you need to be all rested up for when you and I go catch our homicidal maniac. I smiled. I held his hand. I think I'll have to sit this one out. Ah, Nick yelped. I noticed the cuts on his hand from the barbed wire. Remember that?
No.
Remember when he... Oh, right, you were inebriated.
Oh, wait.
When
the fact that the entire fence was
escaped,
barbed wire?
And the whole fence was barbed wire. Why would anyone make a fence like that?
We made a fence of barbed wire. It's just a pile of barbed wire. Barbed wire is not strong enough to support itself.
It's like $50,000 worth of barbed wire just stacked against each other.
Just in a big pile.
Just in a wall. It's not even a fence. It's just a barrier.
It's got one pole every 2 feet because that's what it needs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we just kind of shoved it up around it, and anything that comes near it kind of needs stitches.
Is there anything I can do for you, Nick? I asked. Killing Felix would have been nice, Nick joked. Haha, thanks for rubbing that in my face, I replied. Just don't go anywhere, please, Nick begged. I'm not going anywhere, I promised. Here, I got this for you, Nick smirked and reached into his pocket. I helped him.
He can move still?
Yes. I helped him fish out a silver charm bracelet. It speaks the truth, Nick continued. Greatest partner ever, I cried. I love it, I finished. It's sort of the point, Nick whispered, but Nick closed his eyes again.
You know, those decorative police necklaces they make for partners?
It's a bracelet, yeah. We continued to wait for Paige, the water creeping closer and closer. 5 minutes went by and the water was just too deep to stand. I lifted Nick up. They're not standing anymore, though. They should be on the stairs, and I don't know why they're standing.
I don't know where the door is in relation to the stairs anymore. I can't tell if it's on the side
it's
or
over
if
the
it's
it's a hatch above them.
So is there a ladder once the stairs end, or does the stairs just go all the way up to it?
The stairs go all the way up to it, but it's locked.
Okay. So they were standing on the stairs, and now they're just kind of floating above the hatch.
At the hatch, probably, yes.
Below. Did I say above?
Yes.
Yeah, below.
Yeah. I lifted Nick up. Nick, you have to stand up. We need to get out of here. We can't wait for Paige any longer. Is there any other way out of here? I asked him. He thought for a minute.
The tubes. The fish tubes.
There's a window in this container. There's just a window. There's a window.
Why would you build a window for something that's for fishing? It's so we can see in. You have computers for that.
There's a window right over there, but we're going to have to get into the water, Nick mumbled. I looked over and saw the window that was 4 feet wide and about 2 feet high. I felt quite stupid. We got into the water and I helped...
Wow. She really should.
We got into the water and I helped Nick out over to the window. I kicked it open, which hurt like hell. I got out first and let...
Oh, it's just... Underwater? I did it. I was able to create enough force underwater to shatter probably not weak glass.
I got out first and let Nick dead man float while I got situated on top of the container. I felt like a monkey. I bent over and facilitated Nick up and out as well, water spilling out from the sides of the window. Once up on top of the container, I helped Nick stand up again, and we went over to the other side of the roof and rushed down the steps. Once back down on the ground, I was completely lost.
I'm surprised at how nimble he is now all of a sudden.
Yes, super nimble. We continued to walk around, but Nick collapsed. There we go.
That was it. That's all the adrenaline my body could create. Now it's just pain.
I've escaped 3 times now.
It's just pain and blood.
Nick, you need to stay with me, I begged, but Nick wasn't even conscious. Okay, people, search for container A88574. Go, Paige ordered, and half of the Chicago Police Department's finest spread out over the area.
It's the one that's maybe 30 feet tall.
With water coming out of it.
Like, how big do you think shipping containers are?
Not even that. Does no one have a fucking map of this pier?
Are they just on a pier or are they in a warehouse?
I don't know. Kane, Dean, Michaels, and Paige ran in the direction of the trail I had left them, which she apparently Jen left a trail of some sort. Was not described before.
It's just water. They're both dripping wet.
No, I think this is implying when she got there.
Oh. Breadcrumbs.
Gotcha.
Literal like handsome.
Like handsome cradle. While Felix wasn't looking, I dropped pieces of my gum onto the ground, leaving the trail for Paige to follow.
That gum would not be there. Do you know how many gum freaks there are on piers just looking for a hit?
Thank you, Jen, Paige said. They quickly discovered the container and banged on it. Paige took out his radio. I don't know how far Jen and Nick could have gotten.
They're like streets away.
Paige,
but she doesn't know.
Yeah. Paige took out his radio. I think we found them. Get EMS to my location now. He turned off his radio. The water was halfway up the steps. Jen, it's Paige.
Why
We're going to get you out.
Still up
he
there
yelled.
If there was a window that's leaking it.
How do we know? Who's inside the container making this report? Okay, we're going up, Paige returned. Nick, wake up, I asked and shook him a little.
You shout?
His eyes cracked open. What's wrong? Is Felix back? He mumbled.
He's been in and out of consciousness like 10 times now.
I know. He's sleepy. Trying his hardest to stay awake. No, we got out of the container, remember? I wondered. Oh, yeah. Maybe you can go find Paige? Nick suggested. I didn't want to leave Nick alone, but I knew that was the best idea he had all night. Okay, stay here. I'll be right back, I promised.
I'd rather watch you die. I want to be present for it than leave just for the off chance you do die.
I want to see the light go out in your eyes. Okay, stay here. I'll be right back, I promised. But Nick was already out cold.
Again.
Paige, Kane, Dean, Michaels, and all the EMS guys stood over the hatch door. We have to shoot it. We can't wait for a hammer, Michaels pointed out. Paige knew he was right.
Hey, you know what's like part of a SWAT team's thing? A sledgehammer or a battering ram. Stuff that you absolutely would have brought with you here.
Jen, if you're under the door, move, he warned, but there was no answer. They shot the door open and the water poured out. Paige looked in and saw...
What?
Paige looked in...
It's at the top. That's the opposite of how gravity works.
Yep.
My voice is cracking with how upset I am at the illogical nature of this.
It's okay because you know what? They're in the wind, Paige called. They got off of the container. Paige backtracked.
They're in the wind?
Yeah, they're gone. They're not there anymore.
He looked in it for 2 seconds, didn't see a person. All right, it's empty.
They're not drowned. They're not dead.
Are there lights in there?
Yes. I'm confident in that, yes. They got off the container.
There don't need to be lights in something that's just for fishing. It makes no sense.
None of it makes sense. They got off the container. Paige backtracked to the sea of police vehicles. They're not up there, Paige informed. Paige, I yelled. Paige, I repeated. Wait, there's Jen, Michaels pointed out, and he ran to me. Michaels, quick, come on, I ordered, and they ran back in the direction I came. When Michaels, Paige, Kane, and I finally reached the spot where I left Nick... Do you think Nick's there?
I think Nick's hands are there. Also, I like how every time...
Did you say Nick's hands?
Yes.
Just his hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also like every time a group of people has to go somewhere, you name them all individually instead of saying the group or we.
Yeah, it's fine. I want you to know who's with me right now.
Because
they're all featured extras.
If I'm in another episode, then give me a line.
Yeah. I finally reached the spot where I left Nick. Nick was not where I told him to stay put. Where's Nick? Paige asked. He was right here, I replied. He
doesn't have the strength to move. So a wolf must have taken him.
It wasn't a wolf, but it's very funny that you say that. It's Connor, I don't think you understand just how funny it is that you said a wolf.
Why?
Over here, a voice, not Felix's, wondered from a few feet away.
Wondered?
It wasn't a question.
So like, over here?
We all turned. Nick was on the ground before a masked figure. When I say masked, I literally mean Halloween mask. Frankenstein, to be exact.
I don't get why the wolf thing is still funny.
The wolf man is just like what I thought. Like
I
know you meant like a wolf wolf, but
I know,
like
yeah, because the implication was that wild wolves are just roaming
Chicago and their peers. Yeah, no, it's just anyway.
It's them sea wolves.
Yeah. Hey, brilliant! Don't mess with my partner. I warned. Why? My boss is a lot scarier than you.
Immediately, all the officers pull out their guns and murder her.
No, it's a man.
Oh, it's a different person?
It's a different person. The dude replied.
Shoot him. Shoot him right in the face. All of you. He's threatening an officer. Kill him.
Bad move, Michaels mumbled. I ran forward, jumped over Nick, and chased the dork to the ground. I pulled the mask. The dork.
Is it Mikas?
Oh, I wish. You know what? That would have been perfect. I pulled the mask away from his head and banged his melon on the ground a few times. Yep. I held his arms behind his back and dragged him back up to his feet. Michaels and Kane were lifting Nick up and getting him to help. Not like to help as an assist, but getting him to help, like going to the...
I understand.
Okay.
They're getting him to people who can perform emergency surgery on him because he absolutely needs it.
Yeah. Paige came over and cuffed our track star. It's Postal Boy, I gasped. The guy didn't answer, and we continued to civilization.
What does that mean?
It's the guy who delivered the box earlier. You know, the one that Lex already assaulted.
Oh.
Yeah. I threw the flunky in the back of the squad car. Yo, jackass, who do you think's scarier now? I leered and slammed the door in his bleeding face.
Probably the man who would still have him murdered. But you gotta, like, go rogue here, Jen. Like, if you want to be an interesting character, you gotta, like, take this car and, like, you're not going to precinct. No, we're not. You're never gonna see anyone you ever love ever again. What? Yeah, I'm gonna put you in wet cement and just fill it up. There's just gonna be a head in a parking lot. How you like that, apples? I'm not even gonna question you. I'm gonna question you after I do that.
And I'm not even gonna ask you questions about the case. I'm just gonna ask you questions.
What's your favorite balloon type? Mine's balloon animal. What's yours?
Hot air. Wrong answer.
No, I'm not even going to give you water.
I'm just going to kick your head around in this parking lot. I was dripping wet, cold, and leather jacketless. Paige wrapped a blanket around my shoulders.
My partner's dead, but damn my leather jacket.
Michaels rushed over to me. Paramedics are looking him over now. They said to give them a minute. Why are they still there? Get this man to a hospital. Michaels informed. I smiled and he went to round everyone up. When Nick was secured in the ambulance, I hopped in. Jen, I'll talk to you at the hospital. Cool? Paige asked before I closed the doors. I gave an agreeing smile. Cool. Thanks.
What does that mean?
Yes.
I want you to communicate agreement with just a smile, people. Try it. It's not going to work.
The fact that you're smiling is not an agreement. Is that a yes?
Why are you smiling? This is weird. This is creepy.
Cool. And thanks. And I closed the doors. As the ambulance sped off, I watched as they disinfected Nick's big wounds, which isn't half as entertaining as it sounds.
First off, big wounds. And second of all, no one would have considered it entertaining. What kind of person are you, Jen? who?
I think we've established from pretty early on that if Jen wasn't given a badge, she'd be a serial killer.
She'd be the Punisher.
And she wouldn't even be good at it.
Yeah, it's like, I killed all these criminals. That guy was a normal man. He just accidentally nudged into another guy and you said assault and shot him in the head.
And by the way, when you took him out, you accidentally shot other civilians.
Yeah, you used a shotgun point blank in
a crowd. I clutched.
He got what he deserved.
Jen Woods is actually played by John Barenthal in this reality. We just put a wig on him. Netflix, let's do this. I clutched the blue blanket I had around me as I witnessed the one EMT, Jack. I gave him a name.
Thanks, Jack. How do you know my name? Who are you?
Drive a needle into Nick's arm. BP
Why
is...
are they driving things into people? It's called injecting. You go, not stab, push, rip it out.
no. BP is still dropping. Natalie, the other EMT, reported.
Who's driving?
The driver.
There's only 2 EMTs. One's driving and one's...
No, I've seen episodes of SVU and CSI and House and Psych that has anywhere between 1 and 3 EMTs in an ambulance at one time. It's fine. That's fine. I've done research. It's fine. Control.
There's only ever 2.
Control. Have 4 bags A positive prepared in the ER. He ordered. Control. Natalie placed a large...
That's not how this works. Why do you think there's so many people shouting things when every person in an ambulance is brought into a hospital? It's because they don't have a way of communicating any of this until they get there.
Now they do.
Also because that information could change.
But you know what? The same people who invented the fishing container of the future invented the ambulance to ER walkie-talkie.
There's no one listening at the other end.
It ended up the same as the fishing container. A failure. I blinked and the world went silent. The only noises I could hear was the beeping of the heart monitor.
This is a very cinematic thing that you're trying to convey.
I know.
In a not cinematic way.
I gazed at Nick. He was bound to a gurney with an oxygen mask around his face. I blinked once more and the sound rushed back to me. The squeal of the siren, the panic in the paramedics' voices, but I only heard it for a second. I fell asleep.
Not passed out. It's, I'm a little sleepy. Nighty night, Nick. This is usually the end of the episode. I'm going to take a nap.
Jen? Paige poked me on the shoulder. I woke up and I was in a hospital gown under a few light yellow blankets. What happened? I asked, rubbing the sleep from my eye. You passed out in the ambulance and they admitted you. You've only been out for about a half an hour. It's 3 a.m. Paige smiled and sat down. Where's Nick? I asked. I eyed the charm bracelet on my bedside table. Surgery. They're removing the bullets. He's had the bullets inside of him this whole time. Jingling like a change purse. My bones are in places they shouldn't. Full of bullets. You're lucky you got him here alive.
We spent like half an hour dying, and I'm still alive.
You're lucky you got him out of there alive. They said another 15 minutes, and you'd have been making the decision of burial or cremation.
15 minutes?
Paige said.
That's for someone who had to perform CPR for 2 minutes straight?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yep.
You have no idea how time works or life.
I love how Jen is the person who would be making the decision if Nick would be buried or cremated. I'm going to call the lab rats. They are probably going out of their minds worrying, I said, looking for my cell phone.
I mean, they still should be. He's in surgery. There's no... Do you think surgery means he's going to live?
No, I'm okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Mark, Claire, and Ashlyn were helping with the peer search tonight. Paige smiled before handing me back my cell phone. Did Mark ask for a gun? I giggled. Yes, Paige said.
I'm in such a good mood now. My partner's only kinda dead. And I'm fine, so job well done.
If my partner dies now, it's because of the surgeon, not because of a crime.
We can't arrest them for this yet.
Not all that surprising, but that's our Mark. Eccentric, but looks good in a lab coat. I don't think he has ever fired a gun before in his life, I smiled. Probably no one...
They're really ragging on someone who we just met.
I know.
Yesterday.
Probably no one in their right mind would give him one, Paige smirked. Did you guys find the guard? I asked. Yeah, the scene was processed and added to the case file. Lucky guy, huh? Paige returned. Yeah, well, I better go call the guys. Could you wait to hear for news on Nick? I asked.
No, I have a job.
Sure, Paige replied.
Oh, I mean, I don't have a job. My job is to babysit you.
Yeah. I got out of the bed and went out to the hallway. I speed dialed Sarah. Hello? She asked. Hey, Sarah, it's Jen, I replied. Sarah and David were having coffee in the lounge. Sarah got up and ran out. Guys, Jen's on the phone, she called. All the lab rats scurried out of their holes. Wow. So much metaphor in one sentence. Cool.
Is that a line?
That is a line.
Are you commenting on your own use of... First off, yeah, are you commenting on your own use of lab rats? Like the wordplay?
And scurried out of their holes?
Yeah.
Yup.
Well...
And into the analysis lab. Put me on speaker, I said, hearing muffled questioning voices in the background.
Oh my god. Wait, I just also want to comment on the fact that she's still like these fucking lab rats just scurrying around. They're fucking little people. All they care about is me. And I'm bored by it.
Jen, what happened? Is Nick okay? Are you okay? Where are you? When will you be back? Did you get Felix? The many asked. Whoa. One at a time, guys. My head hurts. Nick's okay. He lost a lot of blood, but no permanent damage.
How the fuck do you know?
They did all their doctory stuff, and he's in surgery now.
Everyone immediately goes quiet. Jen, that doesn't... Okay, who wants to explain it to our guys?
And what about Felix? Mark asked. Gone, I returned. Sorry, Jen, Mark apologized. It's cool. In the mood he put me in, he's not going to be gone for that long. I smiled. I answered all of their many...
What does that mean?
I answered all of their many thousands of questions.
Are you going to travel outside your jurisdiction to get him? Because that's illegal.
And then finally, an hour later, went back into my room. Someone should go tell Lex, Claire said. Ooh. Can I? I love delivering good news, Mark begged. I'll come too, Claire said, and they exited. They sat down next to each other just before waking Lex. They looked at each other, right in the eyes, and then they kissed.
Are they making out over a teenager?
Yes, but I don't know why.
Who?
Claire and Mark. I don't know where this came from.
I think you forgot you had never mentioned Mark before.
Hello, child in the room, Lex smirked, and they detached.
No, keep going.
What's up? Did we find Nick? Where's Jen? She asked. Yeah, he's at the hospital with Jen.
No, this is how we deal with our grief. Your brother's
dead. We can go see them in a little bit. Go back to sleep, Claire comforted. Claire, that's what I've been doing. I want to do something, Lex argued. Dude, it's 4-something in the morning. You go.
You want to watch your brother get cut up?
Because that's what's happening right now. Just go back to sleep. Well, we have to stay up and watch nothing. I think that you can go back to sleep for a few more hours, Mark suggested. Fine. Thanks, guys. Lex smiled and drifted off back to sleep. Mark and Claire walked out. Well, that was, Mark mumbled, and Claire kissed him again. Sweet, she smiled. That pretty much covers it, he smiled, and then they continued their tonsil hockey game. No longer over, Lex. They're in the hallway now, making out. It's fine.
I want to give you like some kind of writing red flag, a red card, some kind of penalty for using the phrase tonsil hockey.
I had heard that a lot, though.
When?
On television.
From who?
Adults.
No. I refuse to believe that anyone used that.
I think it's definitely in Full House.
Ugh. Why are you basing any realistic dialogue or human interaction on the TV show Full House?
Because it's fine. Hey, I know I was out there for forever. It was like they were writing a book. That would be weird. Any news on Nick yet? I asked, sitting on my bed.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid. It took some string pulling, but I got it done for you. Meet your new roommate, Paige said, opening up a curtain that covered up the other side of the room. Nick lay in the bed about 10 feet from mine. Nick!
No legs. They had to amputate. They didn't explain why.
They had to use the bones from his legs to repair all of his ribs.
At least that's what Dr. I Like Legs said.
There was nothing weird. Nick, I exclaimed and sprang off of my bed onto his. Okay, well, I'm drowning in paperwork and need some sleep. Tell Nick to get better. I'll see you later, Paige smiled and left. Nick was covered in bandages and gauze pads. His arm was in a sling wrapped in an ace bandage. He was shirtless.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was shirtless, exposing the seatbelt-like bandaging he had against his chest and his waist, the EKG monitor wires, and his bulging muscular forearms.
Not a good enough reason to use the word bulging.
Bulging muscular forearms. I couldn't see his leg, but I had a pretty good idea that had a bandage around it as well. The guy looked like a mummy. He didn't look too comfortable with the tubes up his nose. He was cold to the touch and a bit paler than usual, but I didn't mind. I was just happy I was seeing Nick in a hospital bed instead of on a body slab under Melch's knife in the morgue. Clue rocks.
What?
It's like on a body slab under Melch's life in the morgue.
No, I get that. What is that last bit?
Clue rocks. Like it was Mrs. Peacock in the dungeon with the knife.
That's a stretch of phrasing.
Yeah.
Also, you're implying that he was alive up until Melch started to cut into him in that sentence.
I know. Well, you've been clubbed, stabbed, burned, drowned, drugged, and electrocuted. Are you some sort of cat mutant freak with 9 lives and this love of almost getting killed and forgot to tell me?
I was
joked.
gonna make a Rasputin joke.
Oh. Yes?
Are you Rasputin?
Are you Rasputin?
Because most of those things happened to him and he was still alive.
Nick was silent. Fine, don't laugh at my hilarity. Good night, hero. I smiled and got up. But
He did nothing heroic. Motherfucker got taken in a crime scene where he should have turned the lights on. And then
he did escape twice on his own.
Yeah, and for some reason he was super like chill about the whole deal. He was like,
very chill.
Fine, you can kidnap me, you can torture me, but you can't make me talk. I
haven't asked you any questions.
I'm not going to ask you any questions. I'm just going to hurt you. You can't break me. I'm just going to hurt you. Do you not understand what's happening?
Although, to Nick's defense here, Felix was like, why does Jen love you? And to everyone else's also defense, everyone's like, yeah, why? He's a terrible cop.
He's a terrible person.
Yeah, but they're all terrible people, and that's what matters.
Except Mark. He's just getting laid.
Yeah. But before I walked any further, he grabbed my hand with his Arctic grip. Jen, he asked, opening his eyes.
We see again his superhuman ability to wake up when he absolutely should still be unconscious.
Yup.
They gave me so many drugs, but I fought it off.
Hey, Nick, you should go back to sleep. You almost died on me. I'd hate to have to kill you if you don't get some rest, I smiled.
That's really not appropriate.
That's somewhat ironic, Nick coughed.
Nope.
Yeah, irony's a bitch, I joked.
Nope.
I thought that was karma, Nick opposed.
All right, that's a good response.
Her too, I replied. Where are we, he asked. Out of that container and in the hospital, I replied. Not the Four Seasons, but definitely better
Which
than
hospital?
Not the Four Seasons, but definitely better than a fishy-smelling box awaiting a watery, untimely demise, I finished. Thanks for reminding me. What time is it? He continued to question. Probably around 4:15, I responded. How long was I out? The last thing I remember was... Well, never mind. He smirked. Good call. You were probably out for 2, maybe 3 hours, I yawned. Only 2-3 hours to perform all that surgery.
He should be unconscious for like at least 8 hours, maybe longer if they keep him medicated.
How fast was this surgery? For his many internal, issues.
Well, we took the bullets out in about 5 minutes. We reset all the bones in about another 5 minutes, and then we sewed them back up in about a minute. I was a little rusty.
I was a little slack-a-lack in there. You go get some sleep, he ordered. Thanks, but sleep isn't in the cards, I smiled. You want some water? I asked, pouring him a cup. No, thank you. I don't want to see this stuff for the next few millennia, he smirked. Felix could never take away Nick's great sense of humor. Nick tensed up. He held his stomach. So how are you feeling, I wondered. Great. Peachy even, Nick retorted. On a scale from 1 to 10, how do you feel? 1 being a paper cut, 10 being hit by a truck that was on fire, I asked. 1, all the way, Nick lied. Honestly, I stick by what I said about you being a terrible liar, I replied.
Why do you care how much pain I'm in, Jen? Does that get you off?
Oh, honestly, well, in that case, about a 15, Nick quarreled. That bad, huh? I giggled. Don't mock my pain, Nick joked. What else am I supposed to do? Nurture it? Yeah, right. You better get some sleep, or this is the last time I'll be yelling at you to stay in the hospital. I smiled. Tears came into my eyes, the little bastards. Jen, you wouldn't...
I hate feelings and having them.
Fuckers. Jen, you wouldn't believe the stuff he did to me. He hit me with a bat, stuck and cut me with various metal and sharp things, drugged me.
He called me a wimp.
Drugged me, burned me, drove a spike through my leg, shot me, tried to drown me.
He didn't do anything to my
twice.
balls, though.
I know.
It's weird that he didn't do anything to my dick
Had Casino
and balls.
Royale had come out yet? Had that come out yet?
There's other things before that.
I know, but that one's just so iconic.
I mean that one, but like there's the thing where they put electrodes on some dude's testicles and zap them. That happens a lot.
Oh yeah, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang would have come out way before this.
I mean that's not the only that's not where that is specifically from.
Okay.
It happens in that, but
Gotcha. Twice, if I remember correctly, and electrocuted me. Tortured me to make it simple.
I also didn't take any fingers.
No. All of the actual attacks on Felix did were actually very phallic. Lots of insertion.
Or he just beat him with that big wooden dick-shaped bat.
Yeah. But all that I had on my mind was you, Nick began. Oh, so you did hear my joke, I squeaked. What? He asked.
Why are people squeaking so much?
Never mind. Continue on about how awesome I am, I smirked. Nick rolled his eyes. I was joking, but he knew I took his speech to heart. I knew you would save me eventually. If I were alive or not, you'd make Felix pay, he finished. Why don't you just give me a medal? I asked sarcastically. Did he really get away? Nick managed. Yeah, but he's an idiot. He'll be back. I stopped myself. Nick had nearly been killed by this maniac. The last thing he wanted to hear was that he'd be back. I'm sorry, Nick, I apologized. It's cool, you're right. He will be back. And you know what? I'm just going to have to break the rest of his face. Even though you did do a pretty good number on him. Whoa. You okay? I asked. Yeah, just a little dizzy, he mumbled and replied. He rubbed his head. That's understandable. I mean, hello, I said. Nick nodded in agreement. So how about those Bears, huh? Nick wondered.
Ah, the Chicago Bears, eh?
Not even football season, dude, I retorted. Damn.
It is, though.
In September?
Yeah.
Oh. The Winter Carnival. Anyway.
Wait, I want to make sure. I want to make sure I'm making fun of it. Where'd my phone go?
I don't know.
Yeah, it starts September. Yeah, it starts in September. So.
All right.
More evidence of no research.
Gotcha. Damn, I knew those tickets were fakes, Nick mocked, but I could hear the fear in his voice. Don't worry, Nick, we'll get him.
Are those tickets fake? Did I waste so much money on them? That's what he's fearing.
You still need to take it easy, though, I coaxed. Take it easy? That psychopath is still out there. Damn it, this is my fault. I should have stopped him, Nick exclaimed and continued to rub his throbbing brow. Hey, you
He can move his arms?
His one arm?
I meant just in general from pain.
Yeah. Hey, you were practically killed and put in his bed because of me. If you want to play the blame game, you point the finger at me. I know he's still out there. I'm quite well aware. But we are going to get him, I said sternly. Nick, he's out there, yes, but he can't hurt you anymore, I promised. A tear slipped from his eye. Things rarely scared Nick, but I could see the fear in his face. After that big speech you gave me, you give me that? I smiled. Nick returned a small snicker. Now please go back to sleep, I begged, and went back to my bed where a nice, hot, crappy meal awaited me. I looked over and Nick actually did what he was told. He shivered and continued dreaming. After I forced myself to stomach what the hospital calls a chicken patty, I laid back down in the dark of the room and fell asleep.
Patties.
What's that?
Oh, it's just a thing from Belknap.
Oh.
It's the song we would sing on Chicken Patty Day.
Ooh. Chicken patties were my favorite things to have at school. But of course, not for long. Jen, are you awake? Nick asked. His voice was very weak. Now I am, I moaned. I opened my eyes and was blinded by every light in the room being on. As I adjusted to the light, I noticed Nick was leaning up against the wall next to the row of light switches and was about to break in two from the looks of him. Nick, what are you doing? I asked. I sat up in my bed and grabbed my hair scrunchie. I put my hair up into a ponytail.
That is the priority.
Yep. I got out of the wooden plank-like bed and rushed over to my fragile partner. I wasn't going to let anything else bad happen.
I'm going to go on a one-man killing spree.
And what's that supposed to mean? I asked. I thought I saw Felix, he replied. I helped him over to his bed and he was drenched with sweat. Ew, Nick, I joked. When we reached his bed...
You say that like I control how I sweat.
When we reached his bed, that too was wet with sweat. I transitioned him over to my bed.
Oh, that's not just sweat, honey.
No.
Oh, actually, he must have had a catheter in because of the surgery. So someone took it out.
That's actually why it's wet everywhere. This is blood and urine everywhere from yanking the catheter out.
That's like it's sprayed everywhere. That's not sweat on him.
I know. That's what I said.
No, on him, not the bed.
I know.
Oh, God.
No, I'll stay on the floor, Nick said. Right, I said, leery, and maneuvered him into the bed.
Larry.
Leery.
Oh.
Jen,
The
Nick
floor is my
opposed.
friend.
I pushed him into the bed, and he was reluctant, but the exhaustion forced him to lie on the soft pillow.
I feel like at this point she would have to have a conversation with the doctor and be like, you have to strap this man down. Trust me.
Please.
Trust me.
Please.
I had to poison.
Look what he did with the catheter.
I poisoned him once, and he still was like able to move around. So you did what? It doesn't matter anymore. That was weeks ago. Weeks? Yeah. Strap this man down.
And give him more drugs. He can handle it. Go back to bed, I said, envying him. He got to sleep, while I, on the other hand, had to make sure he stayed asleep. Everything's okay. Felix is in here, and Paige left his gun, the 57 Magnum. What? What?
He just left his gun.
His 57 Magnum.
Yeah, they're not going to ask me what happened to this. You can just have it.
Because that's a police issue, by the way. A 57 fucking Magnum. It's every time I close my eyes, I see him. When I open them, I'm scared I'll be back in that container, Nick said. When you open your eyes, I'll be
Nick,
there.
I'm not your therapist. Shut the fuck up.
No water, no Felix, no fishy-smelling container. Just me holding this big-ass gun. I smiled.
Okay, so here's a fun, interesting thing I think would be cool, is if the rest of this wasn't about, like, them obviously going to get Felix, but instead it was just a deep dive into Nick dealing with PTSD and the horrors that law enforcement face sometimes and are actually how to deal with it. Not Jen, who's just like, I don't feel things. I don't need group therapy. I don't need anger management.
I bring back Dr. Green.
Yeah, Dr. Green shows up like, hello, friends. Bang!
Oh, so sorry, Dr. Feelings. I thought you were a bad guy. Jen says, holding smoking 57 Magnum.
He was here to help me, Jen. My brain's broken from all the trauma. No,
No,
there's
no,
such
no.
a thing as trauma.
No. You're just being a pussy. It's fine.
We deal with trauma by murdering the people who cause it.
And if Felix ever dare to come at you again, just like you said, he's going to be in a world of hurt, I promised. Thanks, Jen, Nick said. He squirmed in the bed for a second and flinched as his broken ribs rubbed up against each other. The guilt hit me so hard I thought it was going to knock me out of the chair. I sat on the chair with a blanket, watching Nick sleep and occasionally jerk his head. I looked over at the small nightstand by the bed with a pink lamp atop it. I opened up the large drawer and took out a huge medical book, because they just have those in
I'm
hospitals.
pretty sure they're Bibles.
They should be. Nice light reading, I said sarcastically. After about page 1, I was rendered unconscious by boredom. The book slipped from my hand and hit the ground, making a sound as loud as gunfire. Nick immediately woke with a start and looked around the room frantically. I shut my eyes tightly as I was thinking about how stupid that move I just made was. Smooth, Jen. Real smooth, I thought to myself. I got up from the chair and picked the giant mess of a book up. Nick looked up at me. What was that? I asked.
I shot someone.
What was that? He asked. A book? I replied. Nick stared at my head for a moment. What? I asked. What happened? He asked. Huh? I just told you that a book fell, I
He's
returned.
on so many drugs.
No, not that. Your head. How did you get that bruise? He repeated.
From fighting.
I began. I didn't want to tell him. I know he saw me get hit and all, but he was nearly dying then. Now he can get mad and try and go after Felix. he'll get all huffy and work 150% until he burns out.
He can't go 10% right now.
I know. I tried to think of an answer, but all I could come up with was
this is not a healthy man who's like, someone hurt person? And then he immediately dies because his heart can't take the fact that his ribs are touching, apparently. That's not how broken ribs work.
They're rubbing up all against each other.
I didn't want to say anything, but I had to bring it back to that. What? Medically. What?
Wait, I remember, Nick interjected, figuring it out. Just forget about it, okay? I asked. I should have stopped him before he did that, Nick complained. Hey, didn't we just have this conversation? None of this is your fault. It's mine. I'm fine. You're not. I'm not going to let you hurt yourself just because of a little bruise, I frowned. Jen, none of this was your fault. Shit happens every day. I just seem to have the worst luck in the world. Yeah. Now go back to sleep. Just don't read that book again, Nick smiled. Don't even give me that charming Nick Cragen smile. That's not fair. You have to get some rest so I won't argue with you. Good night, Nick, I laughed. Night, Jen, Nick replied. And that's it. That's the end. Because that's how they all end.
Is that really the end?
No. But wouldn't it be great if it was?
I mean, it'd be hilarious. It'd be like, and the bad guy got away. The end.
The end.
They're both damaged.
He shifted in the bed for a second and faded into a dream. I stared at him for a little while and eventually joined him in a slumber. Jen? Nick asked. I didn't answer. Nick opened his eyes and noticed I was out cold. He maneuvered himself out of the bed and fell forward onto the ground, but didn't wake me up.
I was told all of this after the fact.
Yes. He turned around onto his back and got himself up into a wheelchair. Nick wheeled himself to the door and looked back at me. Sweet dreams, Nick smirked, and he rolled his eyes and he left. He wasn't going at the speed of light because he only had one arm to roll with.
Why?
Nick looked around in the hallway.
Why did you think this was possible? I want to know why 12-year-old Lex thought this was possible for a person to put themselves through.
Bone strengtheners.
I want a real answer eventually.
I know. He continued down and saw a young nurse rolling a cart. Hey, excuse me, Nick called. Oh, you probably shouldn't be out of bed, she smiled. I was going crazy in there. I'd like to sign myself out, Nick declared.
That's the nurse, just pointing and laughing at him and then saying, no, get back to your room, you motherfucker.
Instead, she goes, well, okay. Are you sure? She asked. Yes, please, Nick replied. She went behind Nick and navigated him to the front desk. Here's like the funniest part about this, though.
Doesn't the doctor have to discharge him first?
See, that's the thing. My dad had been in and out of hospitals a whole bunch by this point in my life. And, like, I knew that there was, like, a discharge process.
And you just had to ignore that?
Yes.
Because in
it's
the
television.
TV shows, this is not television. This is a book. But
doesn't matter. That's fine.
But in the TV shows that you were basing this off of, people said, I don't need your stupid medicine, and then they walked out.
And just pull wires from their body and IVs out of their arms all the time. It's fine. I woke up and I had this gut feeling something was off. Almost always meant Nick was doing something he wasn't supposed to, or something catastrophic was about to happen. In some situations, the two collided. Nick, I asked. I looked at the empty beds. I'm going to kill him. I gritted through my teeth. I put on Nick's black sweatshirt and left to the front desk, knowing Nick couldn't have gotten that far. I got to the desk just as Nick got the clipboard to sign himself out. What the hell are you doing? I asked, taking the clipboard away from him. I sleepwalked out of the room and then
I'm going to push you down the stairs for real.
This clipboard landed in my lap, Nick argued. I rolled my eyes and wheeled him back into the room. On the way, Nick argued in his defense. Hey, I'm going to get out of here sooner or later. Might as well be sooner, he said. We got into the room and I stood up.
Do you want to be paralyzed from the waist down? Because that's how this happens.
I know. I helped him up into his bed. I was just trying to help, Nick disputed in his favor. Yeah, and if you died in the process, what would I do? Probably crash and burn. Nick paused. I glared at him. I strapped his good arm to the bed. Hey, this is a little excessive, don't you think? Nick asked. Good night, Nick, I said. Fine, I give up. I can barely breathe. Actually, that trip took so much out of me. I think you can undo the restraint. Nick smiled. Yeah, like you're gonna just stay, I smirked. He threw his head back in defeat. Good night. That's all Nick could get out before he passed out. I sat back into my chair and went back to sleep.
The implication is that, like, if she hadn't gotten to him, he would have passed out, like, minutes later, just, like, rolling out of the hospital in his chair, just...
And the nurse is like, sir, you can actually take the wheelchair with you. Sir. Sir.
He just rolls into the middle of the road and an ambulance takes him out.
All of a sudden, Paige was shaking me awake about an hour later. I woke up and looked out the window.
Why does she keep getting hours, like single hours of sleep?
Because it must explain what's wrong with her. I woke up and looked out the window. The sun was supposed to be out, but instead it was dark and snowing. What's up? I asked. We have a problem, Paige frowned. Oh, only one? Gosh, what happened to the other 1,000? I asked cynically. A girl's dead, Paige said and handed me the file.
What?
Jen was like, what's up? I asked. We have a problem, Paige frowned. Oh, only one? Gosh, what happened to the other 1,000? I asked cynically. A girl's dead, Paige said and handed me the file.
This is just our job, Paige. I mean, technically every death is a problem, but this is our job.
No, it mirrors that, like, when Nick cracked the joke of, like, oh, talk about taking that game too seriously, and you were like, a child is dead, Nick.
I don't live in the past. I have other critiques now.
I
was an innocent boy back then.
Gotcha. You've seen so much more since. I'll get Ashlyn on it, I promised, and snuggled back into my chair. No, it's Felix, Paige whispered, trying not to wake Nick. I got up before my next blink and scanned over the file.
What?
Yep.
I got up before my next what?
Blink.
You can control when you blink, Jen. That's not an impressive feat when you can just control when your eyelids are open.
How do you know it was him? I asked. He handed me the note in the plastic baggie.
Are you kidding? He's said his name during every crime that he's committed so far.
Every single one. This was found with the body, he scowled. Taylor Marcus. She's 9 years old.
Jesus!
Paige finished. I read the note. Jen, good job on the whole rescue. My nose is fine, and I hope I didn't hit you too hard. This girl is a message for Nikki. I'm not going to stop killing until he is dead and you are with me. Love you, Felix M.
Did you think people were like this?
Yes.
Like,
Damn.
Is this even close to a character that you saw on television? Because he's acting like a goofy clown mixed with the Joker, which ironically... No, cut that. That was a bad metaphor.
Okay. I don't know.
He's acting just silly. Like,
Yeah.
he's acting really silly. Like,
Yeah.
I love you. Here's a severed head. Like, you're a cartoon character, sir.
Yeah.
No person is like this.
Yeah.
Like, even serial killers are like, I need to not be caught. I need to know what I'm doing. You're not a person.
Yeah.
If I threw you off a building, I'm pretty sure you would go splat and then pull yourself back up flat.
Damn, I should have killed him when I had the chance, I exclaimed. Nick stirred, but didn't awaken. I'm going to get changed, I said, and I walked into the bathroom, placing the note on the table in front of Nick. Jen? Nick asked, waking up. Well, I lack the feminine charm and cynical personality, but close, it's Paige. How are you feeling? Paige replied.
Also, is Felix just saying I'm going to kill random people?
Yes.
Not people close to him.
Nope, I'm just going to kill people until this man's dead. Because you can protect targets. You can't protect everyone. It's actually kind of smart. Where he's like, I'm just going to kill random people until Nick is dead. Because if I tell you, I'm going to kill everyone you love, you're going to put everyone you love in protective custody.
Okay, but Felix, don't pretend like this is about... You're just going to kill random people. You're just using Nick as an excuse.
This is just an excuse at this point.
You're killing random people because you want to kill random people. Shut up. No, he said I wouldn't kill anyone if Jen was with me. Then I'd only kill myself and her.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, I feel peachy. Where'd Jen go? Nick asked. In the bathroom getting changed. We have a case, Paige informed.
Also, why not an adult?
Because only children die in Chicago.
Is that really what, like...
No.
You just... Was it more horrifying?
I guess.
Okay.
Oh, have fun. I'll be, well, here, I guess. Hey, could you do me a favor and uncuff me? Nick replied. Jen's just trying to do what's best for you. I hope.
Why
Paige
not
scoffed.
just inject him with something to knock him the fuck out again?
And undid the cuff. Thanks, man, Nick answered, stretching his arm. I walked out. Oh, hey, you're awake. How are you feeling? I asked. I'm freezing. What's it, like 9 degrees in here? Nick asked. I looked at the thermostat. 80 degrees. Only off by a few degrees. I cocked it up to 85 and walked back over. Oh, I forgot about this. Oh, my God.
The temperature change?
Oh, good. We'll come back to it later.
What?
It does. No, it hasn't been revealed yet. I just remember. I just had like a Vietnam flashback.
What?
Do you want me to spoil it for you, or do you want me to read it to you? Like, you want me to tell you?
Read it. You make it sound like it's the next sentence.
Oh, it's not the next sentence. I just remembered why he's so cold, and it will be revealed later.
Is it because he's part Eskimo?
No.
Like that's just a whole bag of weird racist stuff.
No.
I don't want to.
No. I really didn't think much about it. I mean, he did lose like a pint of blood or something. I eyed the letter on the table, and Nick eyed me eyeing. He may have been beaten up pretty bad, but he still had those reflexes, and he beat me to the letter. I bit my lip. Now, Nick, I said. You weren't going to tell me about this? He asked, holding up the letter. Me being totally honest? No, I wasn't, I said. Thanks for the thought. Then again, after chaining me to a bed, nothing you will do will ever surprise me, he smiled. He handed me the letter.
Really? She poisoned you. First episode.
I know.
Why is any of this surprising?
I know.
Stupid idiot.
You
forget. You have the memory of a goldfish.
He handed me the letter, and then in his defense, he's been poisoned. So
He's also been beat to shit.
I know. He handed me the letter,
soup.
and then sat up in a position that got him ready to get up. Nick, what are you doing? I asked. Coming, he said, motioning for help. I hate you. I hate you so much. Paige and I just stared in disbelief. So Nick got up on his own and almost died because he was so tired and in so much pain. A little help? He asked.
Is that really what that says?
Yep. He wobbled a bit and had to hold onto the side of the bed to prevent from falling.
To be fair, the same conversation keeps happening over
and
over again.
I know.
I don't know. What were you thinking?
I don't know. Which wasn't that easy considering the climb on the barbed wire. No, I exclaimed, totally dumbfounded. Paige, he asked. I stopped Paige and went over to Nick. Let me sign you out first, I said, and helped Nick sit back down. As I went to the door, I pulled Paige along. Detain him. Keep him in that bed, I begged. Got it. Anything to help Nick. And get out of paperwork, Paige said, and I left. We should
just murder all the people so we don't have to do paperwork on them. That's my dream.
I got out to the parking lot, and the orangish light of the light posts illuminated each crystal of snow as it fell from the clouds. The sky was black and lacking a sun. I looked around, and this beautiful Hallmark moment was wrecked by the sudden fact I didn't have a car. I walked back in. Paige tossed me his keys, already knowing what was up. I walked back outside and got into his large white Denali. Paige walked back into the room.
I have no idea what that is.
It's like a giant SUV. And Nick wasn't in bed. Nick? Paige asked. Yeah, Nick called. Nick rolled out of the bathroom in hospital-issue sweatpants and a white t-shirt. Jen's gonna kill me if you leave here, Paige informed. Yeah, I know. That's why I called Melch to come pick me up. Nick smirked. Paige puzzled this for a moment and then rolled Nick out of his room. Thanks, Paige, Nick smiled. Don't thank me yet. I'm keeping the hospital on their toes. The minute that you start to even cramp, you're going to end up back in that bed, Paige argued. Touché, Nick replied. A blonde nurse came over to Nick and gave Nick a few pills.
Okay.
I didn't ask for these. Thank you.
Just pop these in, and I hope to see you real
Don't
soon.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
She smiled. Nick didn't really even pay that much attention and popped in the pills. Paige wheeled Nick outside and Melch pulled up. Paige helped Nick stand up, which hurt Nick terribly. Nick didn't let Paige see the vulnerability and just got into the car. See ya, Paige, Nick grinned. See ya, Paige returned, and they drove off. Paige looked at the parking lot. Oh, crap. Paige tossed up his arms. How is he going to get back to the lab?
Haha, comedy.
At the red lights.
Seems real out of place.
At the red lights to the lab, I read the case file. The body was found at the ice cream spot. A single gunshot wound to the head was the COD. Green light. I continued to the lab. I pulled into the parking lot and walked inside. Hey, boss, Ashlyn greeted and ran up to me. All the lab rats poured over to see me along with Lex. Hey, guys, don't we have a case? I asked. Right, Sarah said and cleared them back. Ashlyn and Lex remained. Jen, how's Nick? Lex asked. He's fine. I'll take you to see him later today, I promised. Okay, she smiled. Lex.
Why isn't she there?
That's a great question. You know how we follow that up? Lex, you want to help me clean some guns? David asked. And that's it. I don't know where Lex goes because she doesn't say yes. Ash, what have you got for me? I asked. We walked to the evidence room to talk about the homicide.
It's implied she goes over to David just because he made noises at her.
On the lighted table with a box labeled multiple homicide, Craig and kidnapping. Okay, this is all the evidence we have on Felix, Ashlyn reported. Okay, tell me about the newest murder, I said.
You don't have, like, former addresses or anything?
No.
You don't know where he lives?
Nope. Okay, tell me about the newest murder, I said. The body was found and called in by an anonymous 911 caller. Probably Felix because the caller wasn't at the scene when we got there. The note was in the girl's hand. The body itself was in the freezer. Ashlyn reported.
You don't expect someone to have heard a gunshot?
No.
In an ice cream parlor?
Not at like 5 a.m.
It's a city. There are people everywhere all the time.
Thanks, Ash. Continue processing. I'm going to go talk to Melch, I said, and walked out the door. Melch pulled into the lot and then helped Nick out. I need to go into the morgue. Jen is probably already there. Do you think you'll make it to the lab doors? Melch wondered. Yeah, thanks again, Melch. And don't tell Jen I'm here, Nick replied. And Melch nodded. Nick hobbled to the doors, and then Melch hauled ass into the morgue.
Is there going to be like this weird Benny Hill scene where the two of them are like constantly almost running into each other?
I'm pretty sure that nurse poisoned him. I'm like 68% sure.
Drugged him or poisoned him?
I mean, is there a difference in this world?
I mean, I think you've been using poison incorrectly because Jen absolutely has just been drugging him that first episode.
Yeah. Because there's no reason for her to have done that. And she was blonde. That's why I did the voice. That's why I did the Harley Quinn voice.
Is that a subtle hint that it was actually what's her face?
I think it was what's her face from the chick who stabbed me with a hat pin.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, you wrote it.
I know. I've repressed it. I continued to the morgue when I heard 3 rounds go off in the range. I ran in and saw Lex holding a .45 with the biggest smile on her face. David, this is so much fun, she grinned. I know, David replied, and he continued to quiz her on her firearms. In the morgue, I saw Melch under a blue light.
He's training her to be a child soldier?
Yes.
Oh, good.
In the morgue, I saw Melch under a blue light scribbling stuff down on a piece of paper. When I approached, he stopped me. It's 0 degrees under this light. Grab the heating smock next to you. This is going to be weird, Melch greeted. I did as I was told and slipped on the heating smock. I stepped up onto the platform and froze.
Why is it cold?
I don't mean froze in fear. I mean froze like a gensicle. So how's Nick doing? Have you seen him? I haven't, because of the case. Melch asked. Better? No, and last time I saw him was at the hospital. Why is it so cold up here? I thought you wanted to thaw the body, I asked. I did. Thaw it, that is. But the gunshot wound froze. The bullet was cased with nitrogen. When the bullet penetrated the skull, it let out a
Cased?
Yes, it gets worse. Are you ready for this?
No, I don't even know what that means.
When the bullet penetrated the skull, it let out a virus-type thing, but instead of germs, it was tiny pieces of liquid nitrogen.
So not a virus.
Nope.
You mean microscopic?
No, I think he means quite literally like the look. It spread cold. It basically just spread liquid nitrogen throughout.
So it
this
was
girl's
a hollow point with nitrogen in it, and
Yes.
upon impact, it
released.
froze her brain.
Yes.
Why? This isn't like his thing. This isn't. I'm the cold killer now, Felix. What? No, you just want to kill.
Felix freeze.
Good work, Melch. What kind of bullet was used? I asked. Melch said and picked it up. Let me guess. 9mm, I said. Yeah, how'd you know? I think I just figured out why Felix didn't kill us in that container. Thanks, Melch, I said, and ran off the platform,
What?
peeling the smock off as I went. I don't even know. I wrote this thing, and I don't know what she's figured out.
He just wants to keep killing, and he's using us as an excuse. And we're gonna be ice people.
Nick,
He's trying to start. This is a separate guess.
okay.
He's trying to start the second ice age by slowly freezing all of the dead people that he kills.
Oh my God. Nick wobbled into Claire's lab. Nick! Claire exclaimed. She ran over to him, and Nick basically collapsed. Oh, did I hurt you? I'm so sorry. Claire squeaked. There we go.
That's 3.
No.
She gonna kiss him too?
No. No, I'm good, Nick panted. Oh, really? Then what's with the cringing and the limping? Claire stopped herself. With the what? Nick questioned. The room began to spin. Nick, you can fool everybody except the oh-so-awesome one, Claire. So don't even try. This isn't like you. Are you
Gross.
bleeding?
What does that mean? She call herself the oh so awesome one?
Yes. Claire pointed out.
None
No,
of these
I'm
people know
fine.
what cool is.
I think I just popped a stitch. Nick frowned and sort of swayed from side to side. I was walking down the hallway and looked in. I ran in as fast as I could. Nick, what the hell? I exclaimed, holding him up.
I was hoping for more Benny Hill.
Damn, you're fast, especially all 3 of you, Nick mumbled. Nick, hey, how many fingers do I have up? I asked, holding up 3. 12? Nick returned. How long has he been here? I inquired. He's been here maybe 5 minutes. We should get him back to the hospital, Claire pointed out. No, really? I retorted. Mark and David came in and helped me get Sleeping Beauty to the car. I don't know when Nick fell asleep, but he did.
Why do people keep listening to this man?
Blood loss causes disorientation, but he was, oh, this is going to bug me, Claire complained. Because she's the toxicology girl. She knew there was something wrong with him. She played with the chain around her neck. She turned back to the chair Nick stumbled onto. She swabbed up some of the blood and began to run it through a tox panel. All right, baby, show me what you got, Claire ordered her lab.
It'll be ready in just an hour or 2.
Nick cracked his eyes open. He was back in the hospital. He looked around and was greeted by my scowling face. I don't know if I should yell at you first or just slap you, I greeted. Nick looked at his arm. It was double cuffed to the bed, and then his ankles were also bound. Jen, you don't understand. I thought I could help you, Nick shivered. Well, stop trying to help me. It's going to kill you.
Nick, you didn't graduate high school. That's why you're a goddamn cop in this stupid city that you grew up in. You can't help anybody. You're lucky they gave you a gun. You're not technically supposed to have one. Shut up. In like 5 years, your sister's going to be your legal guardian.
I don't know if I should yell at you first or just slap you, I greeted. Nick looked at his arm. It was double cuffed to the bed, and then his ankles were also bound. Jen, you don't understand. I thought I could help you, Nick shivered. Well, stop trying to help me. It's going to kill you. This time, you're not going anywhere. I told Paige what happened, and he's basically going Secret Service on keeping you in here, I promised, and began
What does that
walking to the
mean?
door. I have no idea.
There are agents posted at his door?
Yes. Jen, wait, Nick stuttered. I turned around. What did happen? Nick continued. You popped your stitches and passed out, I answered, and then I left. I walked down the lab hallway and began to think. Wait a minute, I said under my breath. You popped your stitches and passed out. You're really fast, especially you 3 Jens. I kept going over past conversations I had with Superman, but it was probably nothing. But since when is anything in my life just nothing? I walked past Claire's to see if she could help me. Apparently, Jen is back at the lab now. I have no idea how that happened, but she's there.
She's just thinking the whole time. That's that one sentence over and over again. Oh, this was meant when things just kind of connect randomly.
Yeah. The finishing buzzer on the tox panel sounded in the vacant area. I walked over to the screen and saw that Claire had run a workup on Nick's blood. Oh, shit, I said. I ran down to Mark's lab, but he and Claire were off having a lunch date.
It's been one day.
I know. I went to Sarah instead. Jen, what's up? She asked. I think Felix is still trying to kill Nick, I said, and I dragged her out to the car. What do you mean? She asked. We got into the Denali and I put the key into the ignition.
Wait, why hasn't anyone started questioning the man they took away?
The postal character?
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Why?
That's okay. Because they already know he's a bad guy.
Yeah, but he could know where the boss is. He said he was his boss.
No, he's just wearing Halloween masks. That's fine. What do you mean? She asked. We got into the Denali and I put the key into the ignition. Well, the fifth victim was the only victim that was shot. The bullet was cased with nitrogen. I paused to see if she understood. Keep going.
No one does.
Keep going. I'll catch up, she replied. I threw the car into reverse and backed out of the parking lot. The nurse put a new IV bag up. What's that? Paige asked. Just antibiotics, the nurse smirked. Nick shivered hard, even though he was under 7 blankets and the temperature in the room was 88 degrees. What's wrong with him? Paige asked the nurse.
Oh, we don't know, but we're going to run some tests. If you could please vacate the room so we could get started, that would be a great help.
The blonde nurse smiled. Oh, and this nurse looked a lot like Blondie Bimbo Barbie, the waitress from the diner. Correction, it was the waitress from the diner.
This is the reveal?
That's the
That's
reveal.
how you did it?
That's how I
She's
did
not
it.
even in the room to tell that. They just look like an idiot right now.
Uh-huh.
Actually, did he ever meet
Blondie Bimbo Barbie?
Yeah.
Probably not, no.
All right, then he gets a pass.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that again?
No.
Okay.
I can no. Just cut the whole thing.
Okay. Okay. Correction. It was the waitress from the diner. That's it. That's the reveal.
She's not even in the room.
I know. It's fine. But that's the reveal. It was Candy the whole time.
Okay, 2 things.
Okay.
1, you couldn't do this in a thing. You couldn't do this in a TV show because we would recognize her face instantly.
Yep. But it's not a TV show. It's a book.
I know. But also, that reveal is her turning and you see her at the camera and you're like,
what? Yeah, it's great. I love it. Okay, Paige said and walked out, closing the door with a slam, waking Nick up. Paige, he asked. The nurse turned around. The doctor, who apparently has been in the room the whole time, I want you to guess who it is.
Felix.
It's Felix.
I feel like Paige should have at least seen his picture somewhere, so he should have recognized
Also,
him.
should have the doctor has half of his face burnt off. Weird.
He's got one of those medical masks on.
Weird. Get out of here. Get Captain Paige. That guy that just left, this guy is crazy and will kill you. You need to, Nick warned the nurse, trying to get out of the bed. The nurse locked the door.
Felix left?
No. He was telling the nurse, get Captain Paige. He's the guy you just left.
Oh.
It wasn't clear. You're fine. But the nurse locked the door and Felix held Nick down. Nick noticed the maniacal grin that Felix and the nurse shared. Damn, Nick said. Nick was twice Felix's size easy, but the new IV bag was pumping Nick full of sedative. He continued to struggle and they both had to hold him down until the medicine finally worked through Nick and the darkness plastered his eyes. That's a good little mousy, Felix grinned.
Why not just kill him right now? That's all you want. You don't want to hurt him anymore. Just kill him. His motivation is, I have to kill Nick.
Uh-huh.
And he's in the perfect position to do it.
I don't know even why he bothered drugging him. I don't know why he just didn't stab him right there.
Because obviously he wants to move him for some reason.
The nurse smiled at her obsession. Felix returned an uninterested grin.
What does that mean?
She loves Felix.
That's never been explained.
Yeah. I love you, Felix, Candy declared. I only have eyes for one woman, Felix replied.
Oh, so this is like Harley Quinn and the Joker if the Joker was like openly like, nah, fuck you. Fuck you, Harley. I hate you. And she's like, no, I love you, though. That's great. I hate you.
That snooty forensics bitch.
The one I've been talking about this entire time. Yes. Have you not been paying attention to me?
Do you even love me? Oh, it's fine. It's fine. This conflict is immediately resolved.
Does he shoot her?
He does.
Okay.
Felix took out his 9mm and shot the nurse through a pillow. This woke Nick up.
The sedatives did. Do you not know how sedatives work? Do you think they just like make you go to sleep?
No. I know how sedatives work, but Nick is superhuman. I wish that was an actual reveal. That it was like, oh,
I don't think you
by
did.
the way.
I think you just thought that like drugs made you want to go to sleep, but then the instant that like something normal would wake you up, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Those just made me want to sleep.
Felix, Nick called, and swung a fast left hook into the side of
Isn't he
Felix's
still
face. Cuffed to the bed?
in
Yeah.
both arms?
Yeah.
Maybe he is Superman.
Nick sprang up. The thrill of the fight that was about to start was fighting
What?
off the medication and the pain in his body.
No, he'd collapse instantly.
Oh, not too tough without me tied to a chair, huh? Nick smirked. Nick cringed. His new stitches began to pop. Felix punched Nick in his broken rib. Just the one, though. Just the one.
Just part of his knuckles just.
And Nick went down. You cannot defeat love, Nicky, Felix said, and the fight was on. All right, I get it. Love. Do we have to chat about it all day, or can I just kick your ass already? Nick sneered. Felix beamed and then kicked.
I think Nick is legitimately insane. I can beat up anyone, even when I'm dying.
Yes. Okay, Nick's in big trouble because Felix is using the hospital to kill him. It's his backup plan. He tortured and nearly killed him. If the water didn't kill him, he could just get him into the hospital. Evidently, he had access to drugs. Why wouldn't I think hospital? I mean, he could have shot both of us right then and there in the container, but he didn't, I said. I honked the horn. Come on, would it kill you to use your damn turn signal? I called out to the SUV in front of me. Oh, I get it now, Sarah said. I swerved into the hospital
that's
parking
two
lot.
people now.
I know. I just hope you can keep us alive long enough to save him, Sarah joked, noticing my driving was like a lunatic. Paige was outside smoking a cigarette. Jen? Sarah? He asked.
They're there?
As he saw us rush out of the Denali. Put the butt down. Nick's in trouble, I barked. You think you can escape me, Nicky? Felix asked, pinning the defenseless Nick up against the wall.
I like how we're just jumping
Yeah,
from scene to scene
fine.
without any like.
No. Transition. It's fine. Felix pushed him onto the ground. Jen will be with me when you die, whether she can accept it or not, he smiled. The bottle blonde nurse was still dead on the floor. Felix has this compulsion problem. You're an ass, Nick smirked and kicked Felix's legs out from underneath him. Nick got up and pinned Felix on the ground. The pain that saturated his body was torture, but the fact that he was winning at the moment was worth it. Am I? Felix questioned.
Shoot him.
He doesn't have a gun.
What happened to it?
They're struggling. It's probably on the floor somewhere.
It was never stated he dropped.
Oh, I agree. You know, you're all high and mighty thinking that you're so much better than me when really you aren't man enough to really fight me. Do you think that Jen could ever love a piece of scum like you? Our job is to stop sadistic sons of bitches like you. Now you know how I felt when you were going on and on. Nick smirked. Jen hates you, and she'll end up happy without you, Chuckles.
The fact that he keeps smirking implies that his face goes back to neutral between every sentence.
Yes. Nick continued. Never, Felix said, and dug a doctor's scalpel into Nick's good wrist, as if a scalpel isn't a doctor's scalpel.
Well, you got your doctor's scalpel, you got your fisherman's scalpel, you got your lawnmower scalpel, and you got your general, just good old housewife scalpel.
I thought you said genital scalpel for a second and was like, I have many questions and no questions at the same time.
I didn't.
Gotcha. Damn it, where do you get this stuff? Nick cried. Felix tossed him off.
Doctor closet.
Nick plucked the thing out like a splinter. You know you are
What kind of... What?
He just... You know you are pathetic, Felix said, picking up the scalpel. He turned around and continued his great speech. Nick inched toward the bathroom door and grabbed the crutch that leaned up against the wall. Hey, cat boy, Nick called, and hit Felix in the face with the end of the crutch, and swung again, hitting Felix in the side of the head. He swung once more and hit him on the other side. I ran to the end of the hallway with Paige. Sarah and 2 guards followed me. I ran to Nick's door and it was locked. Not for long, though. I shot off the knob and kicked the door open. Nick leaned up against the wall. Felix was on the ground, and Blondie was dead on the other side of the room. "Nick!" I exclaimed, and I ran over to him.
Why wouldn't you ever use her real name?
'Cause it's Candy. It's not a real name.
Blondie's not better.
I know, but it's descriptive.
No.
I owe you the biggest I told you so ever.
Shoot him!
Nick smiled. Felix is unconscious on the floor.
Shoot him!
Shoot! Ah! And we hugged. Felix got up and threw the scalpel.
You just said.
I know.
You just said.
know. I've got the egg on my face. 'Cause it gets...
First off, he threw a scalpel. It's not that big. It's not going to go in deep into anything. It's not going to...
Are you sure about that? Are you sure?
Fucking hit me with whatever's about to happen.
Okay, I will in a second, but so for the audience, Connor and I just watched the cinematic masterpiece that is Gremlins, okay?
This is getting cut.
No, it's not.
I don't...
This is important.
Is it?
Yes. So at the end of Gremlins, when they finally stop Stripe, he melts, right? Like he melts in the fountain. And then like a whole minute and a half passes and everyone's like, okay, we resolved this. And then Billy walks up to the fountain. And then for some reason, Stripe's corpse just jumps out of the water
Oh, yeah.
for one last scare and then melts into the ground.
It's just his skeleton and like a couple internal organs, but very clearly there are no eyes and there's no brain.
Yes.
So,
But it's just like, it's like, okay, you did this just for one last hurrah. And that's how I imagine Felix right now. Felix is Stripe's corpse jumping out of the fountain to throw this scalpel to stab Jen. Because that's what has happened. He threw the scalpel and it stuck into my side.
You.
I cried, but no pain came to my body. Nick picked up my gun and shot Felix in the kneecap. "How do you like being shot?" Nick yelled. Paige took the gun from Nick, and the 2 officers picked up and cuffed the ever-shrieking homicidal maniac, Mant.
Didn't even give him a first name at the end of that
Nope.
sentence.
"Jen, are you okay?" Nick asked concerning the knife. I looked at my side.
It's not a knife.
It is now, because that's all I refer to as for the rest of the thing, except for this one time at the end.
Okay.
I plucked the knife out from where it protruded from my pocket. I reached in to see if I was bleeding, but I pulled out Nick's cell phone that had a gash right in the center where it caught the scalpel.
That would have killed her.
Yeah. "That's going into a trophy case," Nick smiled. "Thanks for doing what you did. I would have shot him somewhere else," I smiled. Nick did the same, and I helped him stand up. "Ah!" Nick yelped. His leg began to throb again, along with some bleeding. His arm was ripped from the sling from when he and
Why are
Felix
you still torturing this man? They won. It's over.
I know. So he wasn't doing too hot. He wobbled a bit, and I steadied him. "Jen, is the room spinning or is that just me?" he asked, and his body went limp. I caught him before he could fall, and Sarah helped me facilitate him into the bed. "Coroners are on their way. I'll get him moved. Be right back," Paige reported and left. "He's freezing," Sarah whispered. "And bleeding," she continued. "Yeah, but not for long," I smiled. I scanned him over. My hero. 2 nurses and a doctor came into the room, a wheeled gurney in front of them.
You saved him, you stupid idiot.
They lifted Nick up and escorted him out of the room from the corpse and the chaos. Paige came back into the room. "Okay, Felix is going into surgery and then off to get a mental evaluation. Then it's off to a very tiny cell in a maximum security prison for him. Don't you just love a happy ending?" Paige said.
No, he's going to go to a mental institute.
"Define happy ending," I joked. I sighed in relief
It's when the girl goes
Oh my!
afterwards.
Stop it! No, we're so close to being done. We all
That
walked.
was a stupid joke.
I know. We all walked into Nick's new room. The nurses were wrapping him back up. "Jen, can I talk to you?" Paige asked. This is probably going to be one of those awkward silent moments that me as a lab rat won't get. So I'm going to go get Lex. I'm sure she'd rather see an
They
unconscious
refer
Nick.
to themselves as lab rats?
Yes.
Oh, God, they're so downtrodden.
I know, than no Nick at all. Sarah smiled and left. Yeah, what's up? I asked Paige. I spoke too soon about the happy ending.
Did Felix get away?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Shoot him in the brain! Cut his head off! Do something!
I spoke too soon about the happy ending. We just found Dr. Tenner. He was Nick's original doctor before. Oh, wait, no, we're fine. We're fine. Okay.
Are they just realizing that Felix didn't just steal doctor's clothes? He killed
He killed Dr. Tenner, who was Nick's original doctor, before Felix ended up locking him in a body drawer downstairs in the hospital morgue. That's how he got into the building. Paige frowned. Well, that was cold. No pun intended, I replied. Okay, well, I'll leave you two, four, alone, Paige returned. He smiled and I returned to smirk, and he left. The nurses had finished up with their stuff. One stayed behind to quickly write down some new meds for Nick, but waddled away eventually too.
Waddled away?
Waddled away.
How are people waddling?
She stopped in front of me. I'll come back in about 10 minutes to fix his stitches. He's bandaged for right now,
the nurse informed, and walked out. I stared at the door and then back at Nick. He was still freezing.
A nurse can't do stitches.
Well, that's why she left.
But she said she'd be back to do them.
She's going to put on a mustache and a doctor coat.
Malpractice it is.
Yeah.
Hi, I need Nurse Beth in room 119.
I turned around and she was smiling behind me. Jen? Hey, she smiled. Nurse Beth had helped us out countless numbers of times since Shane Morrison.
You're introducing a new character randomly?
She was in Preaching the Horse's Mouth. She was the nurse that helped when they went to visit Shane in the hospital.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was she named then?
Yes. But she was completely incidental. Oh, hi. I was actually just looking for you. It's Nick, I replied. Oh, what's up? I'm now, in fact, Dr. Beth. What's up? She smiled.
You went to medical school in a month?
Yeah. Well, Nick was shot recently, and since then he's been getting paler and colder. His room is jacked up to the high 80s, and he's under a few blankets, but he still can't get warm, I reported. Oh, it might be hypothermia, but I think the attending...
Sure, that makes sense.
But I think the attending doctor would have noticed that. The new doctor puzzled. Probably not. The attending doctor was murdered, and then the guy who shot Nick became the new doctor. The bullet Nick was shot with...
What?
Yeah.
Do we have a security breach?
Oh my God! The bullet Nick was shot with...
That could have been me. Holy fuck.
The bullet Nick was shot with was laced with some form of nitrogen. He lost about 2 pints of blood and was nearly drowned in -degree water. Twice. I'd say hypothermia is our best bet. I smiled. We both laughed.
Hypothermia goes away when you're not in the cold anymore.
Like the temporary schizophrenia that Shane Morrison had? It's everywhere.
No, that's like hypothermia only happens when you're surrounded by cold.
I know.
Is the implication that he also got shot with a nitrogen bullet?
He did get shot with a nitrogen bullet.
Yeah, but it got taken out of him. It's gone.
No, it's fine.
It's also liquid nitrogen that's cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not gaseous nitrogen.
Yeah. The liquid nitrogen has infected his bones.
I'm going to bed.
Okay, I'll be down in the room in 5. You two live very lively, interesting lives. You know that? Beth giggled, and we went our separate ways.
You're always in the hospital with grave wounds. Kids are just so fun.
Yeah, it would probably make a great TV show, I replied under my breath. When I went back to the room, Nick was somewhat awake.
You've lost all the respect I had for this baby with that one line.
Hey, go back to sleep. I'm getting your favorite nurse in here to cure your little chill problem, I said. So why am I unable to get warm, doctor? Nick joked through slightly blue lips.
Oh, because science is made up and you're cold for no reason.
Yeah. The bullets you were hit with were cased with liquid nitrogen, and then it let the nitrogen into your body like a virus. This gets really annoying after the 30th time you've told someone this story, I replied, and we both gave a small laugh.
Ha ha ha. This insane thing just keeps happening. It got boring.
Only 30, huh? Nick coughed. Ha. The doc knows what's up, so I'm going to go grab a coffee and a muffin. What do you want? I smiled.
Wait a minute. pause.
Okay. Yes.
If Felix was already sure that the hypothermia was going to kill him, why sneak in at all?
He had to be sure.
Okay.
Because they took the bullets out. There you go.
No.
I'm gonna use your own logic against you here.
No, because he would have had to wait a week to realize that the hypothermia wasn't going to kill him.
To get out of here and bash in Felix's skull a little bit more, Nick teased. Men, I joked and rolled my eyes. Hey, be nice. I'm crippled, Nick smirked. I put my hand up in a talk to the hand sort of tone, and the lady doctor walked in after my exit. I got to the cafe and picked up...
just call her a doctor. You know that, right?
Yes, but I wanted you to make sure that it wasn't Felix, because it's a lady. I got to the cafe and picked up my coffee. My cell phone vibrated. Hello? I asked. There she is. A husky voice said behind me. I was wrong. I turned around and was ready to attack the person when I had noticed that my father stood behind me. Daddy!
Husky?
Husky. Daddy! I
There she
screeched.
is.
I hugged him and he hugged me. I brought a little something for your partner, that poor fellow. My father smiled.
Is he supposed to be British? He talks very proper.
No, he's just a billionaire, and billionaires all talk like this.
Have you met Elon Musk?
In
he
my
talks
heart.
like he...
I noticed the hundreds of balloons behind him and the few presents on a large cart. Daddy, you didn't have to. Nick's not really the material type, I smiled. He's saved your life on a daily basis. I think he deserves it. My dad smiled. What, the Viper wasn't enough? I joked. My dad smiled. How long can you stay? I asked. Well, I had to be out to the airport about 5 minutes ago, so I think I should go. I love you, my dad smiled. He gave me a peck on the cheek. Jen? Lex looked over all the balloons. Hi, and who's this? She asked, coming
This is
around.
my daughter. You don't ask anything about me, Dad.
No, Lex asked that.
I know. Oh, Lex asked who's this?
Yeah. Lex, this is my dad. Dad, this is Lex, I introduced. Yours? Jennifer, why didn't you tell me?
Oh, we made the same joke.
He asked. No, Lex and I yelled in unison. I'm Nick's little sister. You must be Daddy Warbucks, Lex smiled.
Warbucks? Are you implying he's a gun runner?
Daddy Warbucks? From Annie?
Sure.
By the way, this is the second time he's been referred to as Daddy Warbucks.
I know. I don't think I could think of anything at the time.
That's fair.
But I've never seen Annie.
Oh, well, you remind me of Jen when she was young, spunky, and cynical. Well, goodbye. He
She
smiled
still is.
and left.
She's all of those things still.
Is that a compliment? Lex joked. Hey, that's the best one you'll hear in a long time, I retorted, and we laughed. These for Nick? Lex asked. Yeah, let's go bring them to him, I said, and we rolled the cart to Nick's room. This stuff is gigantic, I complained. The bigger the better, right? Lex asked. I returned to glare. I opened the door up and Lex pushed the load through the opening. The doctor was making sure everything was in order and scooted out of the room.
You called her Beth before, and now you just say the doctor.
I think this was in the edit. I think I added Beth in this draft. I don't think she existed before.
Oh.
Nick, I missed you. Don't ever do that again, Lex exclaimed and hugged her brother tightly. Ah, easy there. What is it with the hugging?
I didn't do anything. Why are you blaming me?
What is it with the hugging and almost breaking me in half? Nick teased. Sit, watch, sleep, enjoy, he told me, tapping on his bed. I got onto the bed and all three of us sat on the bed.
Why are you hanging out on his bed?
And
this
watched
is weird.
TV. After an hour of TV, Nick and I fell asleep, but Lex stayed up. A few hours had passed, and if Lex saw another infomercial about the facial flex, she was going to kill herself. She crept out of the bed and went down to the cafe. 3 tacos, please, she said, and brought the food back to the room. She laid out the food onto the tray table and popped one of the balloons. Nick and I almost jumped out of the bed at the sound.
What the fuck is wrong with her?
I thought you'd guys be hungry. I didn't expect that, though. Lex smiled and showed the delightful feast she had laid out for us. We ate our tacos while Nick struggled
this
with
is
his.
one taco. I'm a grown man.
He couldn't pick up the taco with his bad arm and was having trouble holding anything because of the bandage that was wrapped around the barbed wire abrasions. Baby, want some help? I asked in a bubbly voice. You're terrible. Nick smiled, and I fed him his food.
I don't understand why this scene needs to exist.
Thanks, Nick, I continued. For what? He asked. Everything. Being my partner, saving me on a daily basis. You know, everything, I smiled. I sat in a pretzel style at the end of the bed. Then I owe you a thank you, too. But you know that, Nick replied. I curled up next to him and we watched a movie that was on TV.
Are they gonna...
No. Nick fell asleep at the end. Paige walked in. Hey, Jen, double homicide at Diamond Cutter Emporium.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
This is a bad...
In bed together.
This is a bad time, he asked. No, it's a great time to solve a murder. I smiled. Have
she
fun.
hasn't slept for more than 4 hours,
I know.
and not continuously.
I know. Have fun, Nick mumbled. I will, I smiled. Let's go to work, I said to Paige, and he left. I followed him, but stopped at the door. Good night, Nick. See you in a few, I smiled. Good night, Jen, he replied, and I shut the door. And that is the end of Case 7, Mousetrap. For some reason, it's labeled Case 10 in the book at the end here.
There are no jokes for that.
Here's the glossary. Processing the scene, the act of collecting evidence, taking crime scene photos, etc.
Oh, good. I'm finally understand what that is.
Yeah. 207, kidnapping of an officer code.
According to who?
Antiseptic, another type of blood detector.
You've done that one before.
When the chemical comes in contact with blood, it turns a reddish pink. And I think I defined it when we were doing All That Glitters.
Oh, yeah.
That's still not what antiseptic is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Unit, another name for police. Sketch artist, a person who recreates a face from a witness. Lethal, able to kill.
That's just a word. You just defined a word.
Yup. DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. Skeletal remains.
Also, I don't know why civilians use that more than police.
Skeletal remains. Only thing that's left is some flesh and bone.
That's all that people are, is flesh and bone.
That's like my biggest fucking problem. Like skeletal remains, it's in the fucking definition. The only thing that's remaining is the skeleton. But okay. Video analysis.
Maybe even skin and bones.
No, because still, skeletal remains are still skeletal.
Yeah, but like
it's just the skeleton.
I know, but the skin can stay on the skeleton. The skin can stay on your skeleton for a while, so you could just be this like I'm just making a face. I can't describe it, but it's just you're just skin and bones.
Yeah. Video analysis
I'm
lab.
giving you a real
Thanks.
reach there.
Thanks. Video analysis lab, a room where we analyze video or sound footage. Yes, we. Single gunshot wound to the head. COD is a bullet to the brain.
That's just rephrasing that.
57 Magnum, a big gun.
Cool. Like physically big or...
EMT, emergency medical technician. Green light, go.
What? Listen, I know all you normie civilians don't know what traffic lights are, but fucking listen
I think she
up.
means like, I'm going to give you the green light. Like she's saying, like in conversation.
Oh.
Which still doesn't really need a definition.
Because it's slang from the fact that we all know what that is.
Yeah. Fishing expedition, to search for something, but you don't know what that something is yet. Live feed, a video that's happening now. Kit, a case with evidence collection
It's called
tools.
streaming now.
I know. I'm glad we didn't define that until the last case.
It's also like was brought up once in this episode, not like the 30 times in every other episode.
Yeah. Mafia, the Italian mob. Bullion search, a search that's done on products, stores, and shippers, etc. 419, murder code, BP, blood pressure, multiple homicide, more than one murder by the same assailant or assailants.
Oh. Just a bunch of people died.
Yeah, anonymous 911 caller, a person who calls 911 and doesn't leave their name.
You just defined anonymous.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, that's it. We're done. No more. There are no more secrets behind any more secrets. That's it. That's it for Jen Woods and
That's all
Nick
the
Cregan.
secrets.
That's all the secrets. at the Chicago Crime Lab here on the A for Effort podcast series. So, how do you feel?
Numb.
You feel like you were shot twice and beaten with a Louisville Slugger
No.
and escaped a container 3
No.
times?
No, I feel like I feel empty. I feel like we've come to the conclusion of something, and I realize that there's
It doesn't feel
It-
like a
like,
true conclusion. Yeah, I know.
nothing happened.
I know. I appreciate you for going on this journey with me. I appreciate all of our listeners for going on this journey with us. And I really do hope that if you take away anything from this dumpster fire that is this manuscript, is that you gotta laugh at yourself. And if you keep working at it, you will get better at things. So, part 2, what do you give it?
I'm gonna give it an I for infuriatingly insane.
And that's fair. And you know what? Thank you again for joining
And-
us. Oh, okay.
I'm going to give Secrets Behind the Secrets
Oh, okay.
as a whole an A for effort.
That's what the show's called. Oh my God. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on the A
But
for Effort.
also a C for confusing.
Thank you for joining us on the A for Effort series, Secrets Behind the Secrets. You're not good at something until you suck at it first.